evening, everyone. All right, so I'm going to be doing the testimony tonight. But first, so myself, Phil, Brad, and partially Austin and another pastor, Joey, we were at a young adult summit since Wednesday. And the whole purpose of the summit was essentially to get better at serving you guys, like be able to create authentic spaces where God's presence and spirit is felt. And it was a heavy summit. It was a beautiful thing. There are just so many conversations. My brain hurts. I feel like I came up with 1,000,007 ideas. And I'm like slightly exhausted, which is weird because I'm an ideas person, but it was wonderful being able to meet with other Christians from denominations that differ from ours, from across the United States. And I think something that really stood out to me was the beginning portion where we had to create, in a sense, a narrative that governs our church congregation. And we put it on a wall, and just the things that the leaders of their churches were saying, the burdens that their young adults carry, is just really like, I don't know, it's crazy to think that we all live across the United States, but pretty much our narratives are all one of pain and wanting to find our identity, wanting to find our purpose, and wanting to find a space where we fit in, and knowing that God is on our team. And so it was definitely eye-opening. And so before I share my testimony, actually, we're gonna do a group activity. But this is gonna require rhythm, okay? So I'm going out on a limb believing that we can do this, okay? But it's really simple. I just need you guys to just mimic this rhythm. All right, you guys are clutch, you got it. Secondly, I want you to close your eyes because no one else really matters. So keep the tempo to this, don't go faster. And the third thing I want you to do is I'm gonna read a statement. And if that statement applies to you, I want you to respond with a okay? Like Philip always does when there's like a good point, all right? So let's do a test run. I like nature. I think ice cream is better than froyo. And if it doesn't apply to you, you don't respond, all right? So now what I want you to do is I see eyes open. Why are you looking at me? Your eyes are closed in this because I want you to listen to the words and keep track of the beat so that you're not necessarily focused to the people that are next to you, but also I want you to hear the symphony of all right? So let's do this. First thing, I am currently happy. I sometimes struggle with high levels of anxiety. I wish I never met him or her. Passionate. I sometimes feel lonely. My future scares me. I'm often too hard on myself. I am hopeful that I will find the love of my life. I have to wear a mask to fit in. Oh, that's nice. Please, God, please, I am in desperate need of your help. I am sometimes unable to handle the pain that I feel. I deeply value community. I feel lost. I am in this by myself. God, will I make it? I don't want to be a disappointment to my family and friends. It is not supposed to be this way. I'm learning to love myself. Life is good. More often than not, I simply just don't know. All right, you guys are phenomenal. I hope that in this you could hear the times when your was echoed by someone or the audience at large, because one of the things I'm realizing is we are terribly similar. even though we are so vastly different. And tonight's testimony, it hits home because I'm talking about probably the hardest season of my life, and I know that it's tough because I just started panicking even before coming up here. I made my friends come. I was like, guys, you have to be here. I gave them no warning. I told them like an hour before it happened, but they're still here tonight, and that's invaluable to me. So on February 21st of 2019, I was diagnosed with depression. And like they advised me, to take like medication and stuff, but I'm pretty stubborn, and I didn't personally want to do that. I don't think that if you do take medication in any way that's a problem. I think it's our duty to know what's best for ourselves and like to work through that journey with God. But for me, I didn't want to do it. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna figure this out. I started going through counseling. I started like running very actively, like 3 to 5 times a week. And I always had like a good girlfriend support system. So Janice, Hazel, Van Dyke, Lisa, I feel like they were there through the thick of it. And it got really bad. It got really, really bad. At the lowest point, I remember thinking, I was ordained as an elder January 12th, and I remember standing on the stage like, how can I be worthy to be an elder when I'm struggling with thoughts of taking my own life? Like, I just don't feel worthy. And I remember even being on that stage, being so terrified to like be around, because I'd stepped away from praxis because this space just got really hard for me. And I hadn't seen anyone, I hadn't really heard from anyone, and that in and of itself was kind of tough. Or I hadn't heard from many people, not anyone. Some people definitely did reach out, and I remember being so afraid to be on that stage because I didn't want people to see me. But actually, I remember like people came in the balcony and watched. I was like, well, I failed at that. So it was just a hard year, and the people who are closest to me, they will know, like Janice, who's my like housemate, can attest to the panic attacks I would have at like 3 a.m. Like the times I would just come home in tears, wake up in tears. For almost a year, I didn't sleep through the night. My diet changed. Like I would go days without eating without even realizing it. Like, it'd be like, why do I feel so weak? Oh, I haven't eaten since Monday and it's currently Thursday. And just so much like stress and anxiety. My work took a hit as well because I am a person that functions from a place of passion. So like if I'm not passionate about it, I can't do it. But if I am passionate about it, my gosh, you have my all. And it just was really, really hard, just going through moments where, like I actually remember maybe it was 3 times, Jen, we considered checking me into the ER because we didn't know if I was gonna make it through the night. And Jenny was like, man, I don't know what to do. Or there were times I'd call Lisa, Hazel and Van Dyke, and like people aren't exactly sure how to get me through this season. And whatever it is that caused me to get to the place doesn't matter. It was just a dark season and a year of honestly fighting quite literally for my life. And I think one of the things that came from that space, there are a good amount of things, like as I've walked out of it, that I can see like good that came from it, but one is my relationship with God definitely changed. It wasn't just the surface prayer anymore. It's like, God, I'm not your friend. You are not mine. I'm not talking to you. Just kidding. Can you help me? I need you. But like I became just so raw in my prayers. There wasn't time. I didn't have time to be fake anymore. I didn't have time to be the Christian that like just goes to church and sits down. God became real because as much as my friends loved me and would pray for me and would fight for me, and there are other people like Ari and Phil who are also like on my team and reaching out consistently like, hey girl, haven't seen you in a while. Are you coming to church? No, Ari, I'm actually not. I didn't say that. No, I'm not going to be there this week. Like, because I learned also how to put on a face. And that's not even my personality. Like, I am what I am. You get what you get. But I learned the art of lying. When people said, how are you? You see, this is, I told you, Philip always does me. Now he has Emily. when people would ask, how are you? I felt like I was just living a double life because I would say I'm fine, but deep down inside, I'm so devastatingly broken and just wishing that someone would see through my facade and see me for who I really was. And it was by and large the hardest year in my entire life. And I pulled away from people as well. So it's not even that like the community didn't care. I didn't even give them the opportunity to know, just out of sheer fear, like they're not gonna understand, they're not gonna fight for me, they're not gonna love me. And I cannot explain to you guys, but it was the darkest time of my life, to the point where like it's jarring enough that like I still can cry about it. And or like it's still like rather traumatizing. And I think even this month has like, I've kind of veered back into that space just because there are different things that are pressing my trigger points, and my natural inclination again is to like run and hide and just like try to avoid it as best as possible. But yeah, it was the darkest season. How many of you guys have had a quote unquote darkest season? Oh, yeah. And I think when I was wondering, or like as I've been like thinking about this all week, like what is the purpose of sharing this, of sharing the fact that like depression and anxiety, oh, another thing, like I feel like my whole personality even changed to some extent. Like I went from being, like Janice is not, and Hazel probably like, yeah. I went from being just like more on the extroverted side. I've always actually been an internal processor, so I've always kind of needed my alone time, but it's like to a greater extent now. I never struggled with anxiety or social anxiety. It just wasn't something that was a struggle for me. I didn't care who was gonna be at the event. Now I literally must know to prepare. And like I'm getting back to more of myself, but just so much of me changed. But on the positive side, as the heartbreak or the situation that like gutted me left, or like as God worked on healing me, there's now a greater capacity for empathy and for love. Like I think God taught me the language of pain even more proficiently, and it's not for myself, it's I can recognize it more readily in others. And I think it even as we were at the retreat, it galvanized every one of my ideas. It propelled everything that I said to the team was based on the fact that I will never let someone in my community feel what I felt by themselves. Yeah. Like that's my passion, is to be able to walk with people through their pain. And I think it is what I'm like called to do, whether career-wise or life-wise, is to look and to see and to know people and call out the light that shines in them through God. So why even share that me, an elder, a leader of praxis that's generally pretty bubbly, that like always sort of wears cool clothes, or like you would maybe not know, I do, you would maybe not know that there's this depth or this pain within me. Why share that? And it's in truth, one, I'm back in a place where no one's opinion in this room matters more to me than God's. Like I am who God says I am. So you knowing the broken parts of me doesn't define me. And in fact, this season of my life doesn't define me either. And neither does your brokenness. The things that tear you apart are not your defining factor, but more often than not, they're the things that will help you be exactly who God created you to be. Am I saying that God wants us to feel pain and to suffer? No. But I'm saying that God is terribly creative, and he can rewrite that pain into something so profound. So that's the first reason why it's worth sharing my story or my experience. And the second reason is, so right before this, we were in a meeting, I walked out and I started like shaking and crying. I see Jordan, I'm like, Jordan, I'm sad, sorry to call you out, but he's like really like sad for me. Jordan tells Austin, and I'm up there like literally just crying because I'm feeling all of these emotions, and I'm a very cryery person. But one of the things that Jordan, even in that brief moment, said or like just mentioned was his own journey. And then Austin said something too, and I was like, oh, you too? Oh, you go through this. And the point that I'm trying to make is, in sharing your story, you open up room for others to share theirs as well. The symphony of ums So many of us said to the same thing. Even though we all have our own journey, all have our own pain points, we often feel the same thing. And so for me, I've learned to define my strength, not in the face I can keep on for a community, but in my rawness and authenticity, so that you can know it's okay to share your story too. Yeah. It is okay to go through your seasons of brokenness. It is okay to be hurt and to cry out to God. And that's why I'm here today. And I didn't even tell you like, it's hard to tell of a year and a half of depression in like, well, 15 minutes. My gosh, I'm over time. But the point is, it is a beautiful thing to share your story, to tell about your highs. Like, I have tremendous highs, things that God has done that will blow your mind, but also to tell about your lows, the parts of you that are in desperate need of Christ and His grace, because I kid you not, the person next to you, they need it too. Whether they look good on the outside or whether they're better at saving face, they need it. And if not now, they will. And so this month, as we talk about the power of your story, I hope that you are encouraged and reminded that, yes, we do go through our low seasons, and yes, we do go through our high seasons, but the beauty of your experience is in the story you tell. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works, and not just your good works, but the things that God has done in you, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So I challenge you today, if it's scary as heck, like for me tonight or me in this moment, tell your story. Don't plagiarize someone else's. Own your own story and share it with the world.
Thank you, Azrika, for sharing that story. Good evening, everybody. Happy Sabbath. I will be reading today's scripture from Revelations 12, 7 through 12. It says, "Now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon. And the dragon and his angels fought back, but he was defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, Now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. Yes. For the accuser of our brothers has been thrown down. He accuses them day and night before our God. And they have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Yes. For they loved not their lives even unto death. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil has come down to you in great wrath, because he knows that his time is short."
Yeah. I'm just going to pray. Jesus, your people, your children, God, your beloved ones whom you gave birth to, that this earth has received, Father, are in the midst of a war unlike any we have ever experienced or the universe has ever seen or felt. And Jesus, we all cry out. We all cry out with the saints and the martyrs, those who have walked before us. God, we cry out, have mercy. Come through, see us in this. Jesus, we cry out, where is your hand? Where is the Lamb? And you cry out, and you say, I am with you. I am here. I am through this. I am in this. I am walking with you. I am carrying you. I am bearing you. I am lifting you. I am with you. The I am is here. Holy Spirit, come into this place. Move on these people. Move on your children. Move in a way, God, that we would feel it, that we would know it, that we would understand it. God, please shower us with mercy. Shower us with a reconciliation to those who have hurt us. God, shower us with forgiveness to those who have abandoned. God, speak into our pains. God, may we see you. Jesus, tonight there are some who've walked into this place apathetic, not sure, just looking for someone. But God, no matter the place or anyone has walked in here exhausted or exuberant, Jesus, I pray that the word would come true, that it would not come back void. In your name, all God's people said, Amen. I have felt for some hours now this immense yearning to share this with you. I'm in the car with Ezrika and my brother Brad and Joey, and we're sitting there and I'm just like, God, I'm unsettled with the verse that I want to share with them. And in my vulnerability, I just said, hey guys, what do you think about these verses? What do you think about this? And Ezrika just exclaims, hey, what about? And I said, that's it. That's it. That's why I was unsettled. That's it. That's the one. And we jump into Revelations chapter 12, and the story emerges. The story of a great war, the story of something cataclysmic, something unbeknownst to anyone that would happen in the universe. Rebellion emerges in a world of peace. Chaos emerges in a place of utter tranquility. Horror emerges like no other story we've ever seen. And it begins. War arose in heaven. Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fighting back. Whoa. The unfortunate reality is that we are caught in the midst of the war. And it's a war unlike any other. It isn't a war with swords and guns and bombs and viruses called COVID-19. It's funny, but it's not funny. And this war is one in which we're caught in the midst of. A war in which we never asked to be put in. A war that looks like depression. A war that looks like famines stretching out through Africa right now. Wars that look like sex trades caught in the midst of Asia, where young girls are just being literally stolen from their villages. It means pain like we've never felt here in America, where mental health issues are on the rise at quadrupled levels. It means so much hardship. The war is not an accident in your life. 1 Peter 5:8. Be vigilant, therefore, for your adversary is looking to whom he may devour. He's looking. He's on the hunt. He's yearning to find someone. Is that you? Is that me? Yeah, it is. It's every one of us. We're caught in the midst of this. But we jump back into the text because something else looms within it as well. It says here that the great dragon and his angels fought against Jesus and his angels. Verse 8, but he was defeated. Yeah. Let me say it again. But he was defeated. Yeah. Friends, do you recognize the significance that this war has already been won? Yeah. This war is already over before it's even started. This, what we think is our utter pain, this situation that you're in, economic depression, school circumstances unbeknownst to you, you never imagined, mental health, family causes, disdain for the relationship expectations you had that never were fulfilled, whatever your pain at work, the instability of the economy. Friends, the war has been won. We are simply in, right now, in this very moment, the byproduct of victory. What do I mean by that? You see, it's interesting how oxygen is made. It's literally a byproduct of biology in a plant's cells. It's simply a byproduct. A byproduct? What? You see, this byproduct of oxygen is what gives us life. The pain that we're in is a byproduct of the victory Jesus has won already on our behalf. Amen. Because the pain that we're in is only temporary. The difficulty is what seems temporary in eternal time seems everlasting in human time. The pain you and I bear right now here in this place seems like it will never finish. God, is this going to ever stop? Is this ever going to normalize? The story continues. You see, it says that the great dragon was cast down, that ancient serpent called the devil, the deceiver of the whole world. Deceiver. It's interesting, I was a deceptive young little boy. I'm just going to tell you the truth. 7 years old, second grade. I was a thief unlike any other. I knew how to steal a 20 from my mom's wallet. By the time she turned around, she didn't know what she lost. I'd go in school and I would steal those parrot erasers before anyone could make even a mistake on their paper. Books would be gone in a flash. I mean, I was good. And then I'd sell everything I stole and I'd make money off of it. I was taught by the best. Benji, if you're watching, you did good. I was a little thief, a deceiver. But you see, every little thief, every deceiver will get caught. Every deceiver will find their end. I was caught. I was suspended. I was punished badly. Satan will be punished. Satan will find his end. He has been discovered. His plan has already been understood. It will get done. The story continues. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, "Now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God, the authority of Christ that we have for the accuser of our brothers has been thrown down." And now this literally encapsulates the series we're going to be in for this month. Verse 11. And they have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Friends, by the word of their testimony. You just heard Ezrika declare by the faith that she was given by Jesus to spew truth out to you tonight. Because someone of you needed to hear that. Someone needed to understand that though depression falls on us, there is victory over it. Christ will find a way through it for you. You see, the beauty is this. Christ has already won the war. Amen. He has won the battle. This is but a byproduct. But you see, what do you do in the midst of the war? Because it's still raging at the moment. We're in the midst of the byproduct of the victory. What do you do in the midst of the war? Well, let me tell you what you don't want to do. You don't want to be a boxer in a boxing match 3 months up until you're about to fight one of the world's heavyweight champs by preparing by eating cupcakes and sitting by the pool, fanning yourself and saying, "I got this. I got this. This brother ain't got nothing on me. Pass me that cupcake." You see, because the problem is your opponent is training. Your enemy is studying you. literally studying you. If you've ever read the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, I encourage you to read those pages. The archdemon Wormwood writing to his novice young protege nephew, who they are literally demons, who are deceiving human beings, and he's writing to his little nephew, "Study them well, my little friend, for when you know them, you may deceive them." He studies your little doubts, your fears, those moments when you're insecure. He knows them because he'll push them. He'll push them. He'll push them. So we run back into 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 5, verse 8, and we say, "Be vigilant, therefore. Be on the watch. Understand, you need to be in preparation right now. You need to be ever ready. And you need to be sharing your story." Because it's the power of story that gives us an opportunity to understand how to overcome when we hear someone else's victory. When we hear how someone else has made it through. When we recognize their journey to victory, we believe we'll have it as well. My brother's a science teacher, and he became a principal. But he shared with me this illustration about a butterfly of one of his teachers in class. They were watching this butterfly cocoon. This experience that happens to every little butterfly. All butterflies have to go through the cocoon. It's this birthing process. You see, the idea of birth is really important to me right now. Today is my daughter's very first birthday. She turned 1 today. And it's amazing that she came. But I'll tell you, I'm so grateful she came as a baby and not as a 1-year-old. We were able to adjust and figure things out. My goodness, if she was pooping like that and I didn't know what to do, it took months. If she did this or that, my goodness, it took months to figure that out. But you see, my brother was telling me about a teacher in biology class with his students. And they were looking at this butterfly coming out of the cocoon, and the students were worried. They were just kind of experiencing the angst for this butterfly. They're like, "Gosh, he's struggling, he's struggling, he's struggling." And the teacher looks at them and he says, "Well, what would you like to do?" "Well, we kind of want to help him. I want to help him through this." I said, "Okay, what would you like to do? How do you want to help?" What if we just cut the cocoon a bit? What if we just eased his pain a bit? I think that would make sense. The teacher said, okay. And they cut the cocoon. And sure enough, they were right. They were so right. The butterfly ends up just kind of one wiggle and out, boom, falls on the experiment table there. And there they saw the butterfly. And they were kind of all happy, like, "Oh, we did something so good. We got them out of their pain, out of their misery, out of the hopelessness this butterfly was in." And they watched, though, this butterfly just sit there and squirm and squirm and squirm. And they were like, "What's going on? Why aren't the wings coming out? Why is there not any movement? What's happening?" And the teacher said, "Do you see the stomach? Do you see how it's bulging there? Do you see how big it is? It's because there is a fluid in the stomach that needed to be pressed out through the cocoon process into those wings to spread them out, to bring freedom to that butterfly. It needed the pain. It needed the hardship. It needed the disappointment. It needed the discouragement. It needed the tough part of its life. Because the process is what brings out the beauty. The process is the point of giving you ultimate freedom. Why? Because it's in the pain that you find out what you're really made of. The Bible's very clear that God tests His people. He tests to see if truly where their faith is at. Don't give up in your pain. Don't give up in your pain. Don't quit it right in that last moment. Don't stop when you're almost there. Don't say it's done for me. My story's finished. This has been concluded. No. You're but in your cocoon. You're in the process of the making. Something great is around the corner. Something beautiful is about to happen. Something will emerge from the trial that will bring you true freedom.
Amen.
And you will be able to fly. Share your story. Believe in the one who won, Jesus Christ. It is by His blood, His sacrifice, that we're going to make it. And we do this together by declaring the truth together, what He's done in our lives. Share your story.